Hi everyone, and welcome to Press X, the Geek Show's dedicated video games podcast. My name's Rob, and joining me today are Andy.
Yay!
And the other person is called Mark.
Hello.
Now, if you're wondering why I introduced Mark like that, is just to remind Andy that his name is actually Mark.
I remember though.
Oh, well, at least you remember I existed. I mean, from the keyframe perspective, I'm apparently buried underneath some stairs or something like that.
Oh, well, yeah, we keep changing where you're buried.
Okay.
I'm alive, just
Yeah, he's just not there.
not there.
We misplaced him somewhere. You know,
Somewhere
like
in the time-space continuum.
yeah, he's like our like existential keys or something like that.
The mysterious editor.
Yes. He swoops in the night and edits things.
Oh dear.
Hey.
Yeah, so how are you guys anyway?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, I'm like on a weird funk where I can't enjoy playing games at the moment. It's weird.
It's weird because I've been through that. I was getting like that when I was playing Yakuza Kiwami 2, because I basically finished that game. But then I picked up this little indie game. We got it sent to us from the indie dev themselves. I've forgotten the name, but it's called Moonlighter.
Yeah, I picked that one up as well, and it's very fun. It's rather interesting.
It is. I mean, the basic premise is that there's 5 dungeons, or 4 dungeons, and 1 door leading to whatever it is you don't know. And around these mysterious dungeons that appeared overnight, has built up a town called Renoka. And you play the role of Will, who is the owner of the oldest shop in town called Moonlighter. And basically, your shop has been in existence almost as long as this town has been in existence. And you're basically a merchant, and only two types of people are allowed to dive into the dungeons: heroes and merchants. And merchants have a pendant that allows them to escape from the dungeon whenever they need to, whereas heroes basically just fight their way out because they're heroes. And so you're having to effectively revive the town by diving into the dungeon and finding little treasures and things that you can sell.
Yeah, the way I've been saying to other people, it's kind of like a roguelike rune factory.
It is kind of like a roguelike rune factory. I think it's a lot more simple than Rune Factory, but I like the fact that it's a lot more simple than Rune Factory because, number one, I like the art style. Number two, I think the music is well chosen. It's good. I wouldn't say it was great, but it's good. It's got those catchy elements, but it's not grating. You know, it's repetitive a little bit, but it's not grating.
Yeah, so, it's quite atmospheric for the period it is, really.
Yeah, I mean, the dungeons are basically, it's a dungeon, you know, it's a roguelike, procedurally generated dungeon, top down, you know, think Binding of Isaac and games like that, and you basically just roam around the dungeon, killing monsters, finding treasures, escape from the dungeon, sell them on, you know, as you do. But there's a kind of therapeutic vibe it's got. I play it daily now, for about 20 minutes to half an hour, because I can basically do a dungeon dive and do a day of sailing at the same time. And it reminded me, you know, when it was with the selling mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it reminded me of a game that I played a while ago on my iPhone called Shop Heroes RPG Tycoon. And the whole layout of the shop is kind of similar. So you have the tables where you put your things. But in Shop Heroes, you basically got to have in the shop, you had like a blacksmith's forge and stuff like that. But in the town of Renoka, you end up with a blacksmith's forge and a potion shop and a retailer's and various other things in the town itself, because you're reviving the town. So the town is effectively your big shop place. And you get to upgrade your shop, you get new weapons and armor that the forge makes and stuff like that. And so it all kind of links in together. And what I like is that there's this symbiotic relationship between the dungeon and the town, which this game effectively plays on.
Yeah, it's very much a one can't exist without the other kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. What I think is really interesting is that there's Shopkeep as well. I don't know if you ever played that, Mark.
I played the VR experience at AGX a few years ago.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Shopkeep as well. But I've got to say, because I like my games where you get to make stuff, you get to fight stuff, you get to make stuff, and you get to sell stuff, right? I like games like that, where there's a whole mixture of things you can do. And Moonlighter plays into that a lot for me. I think the narrative is interesting. They don't bother trying to explain the dungeons. That's fine by me. But
yeah, they're just kind of there, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's an enjoyable game. It's surprising how enjoyable the game actually is, because it's very, very simple to play.
Yeah, and one of the things I did like is that if you die, you lose all of your stuff and you go back to the surface, but the dungeons aren't that long in that the most you've lost is 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas I've played stuff like Enter the Gungeon, where if you die, and you will die, you lose an hour or 2 hours of playtime.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. And what I like as well is the 4 different types of dungeon have 4 different types of environment as well.
Yeah, it's it's golem, forest, high tech, and desert.
Yeah, desert is the last one. And if you beat the guardians of each of the dungeons, you basically get keys off them, and those 4 keys open the big and final 5th door.
Yeah,
which nobody's ever opened before, and nobody knows what happens when the door opens.
Don't you think, though, games which are pretty much either they do something like you've just said, where you have to restart again, even if it's half an hour if you die, or a game that's just too hard, wouldn't you think that would make you just boycott a game?
Well, it might. I like what you did there.
I had to. I had to take advantage of that.
I know. But yeah, we are talking about what would make you boycott a game. And so, guys, what would actually make you boycott a game?
For me, the first thing, the most glaring thing is microtransactions where there shouldn't be microtransactions.
You mean like in every game?
Well, I'm thinking more stuff like, what was it, the Shadow of Mordor one, where they kind of, last year, where they kind of just took major chunks of the game and it's like, yeah, you got to buy this bit and this bit and this bit and this bit and this bit. And
I mean, that's what I mean by when I say every game, because microtransactions are something that, I don't mind microtransactions every so often, right? In the right sort of game.
Yeah.
But it has to be the right game that fits around the mechanic of microtransactions. You know, it has to be a game where the whole pay-to-win aspect is removed, so the microtransactions become something kind of akin to a gameplay mechanic. It's a limited thing, and it's only for certain instances, right? But locking whole chunks of content behind paywalls, because that's effectively what you're talking about.
Yeah. Basically, a certain 2-letter game developer.
What, F-U?
TB.
Is it F-U? Am I several letters of the alphabet off?
To be fair, it's been that while since I've actually bought anything from that publisher. I pretty much have boycotted everything they've released since the PS2 era, maybe early PS3.
Wow, you got out early.
He was psychic. He saw that coming.
It is stuff. I mean, let's look at Diablo and the way that's been handled as of late.
Oh, Blizzard. Oh, Blizzard.
Beloved franchise. And the next one's a mobile game, which people said, I don't mind it being a mobile game. Will it come to PC? And they're just like, nah. Do you not have a mobile? And they're just like, oh.
It'll come to PC.
Diablo is
Makes
Blizzard.
More money.
Yeah. Diablo is Blizzard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt really sorry for the people with that. The other one was Command and Conquer this year.
Oh God, please don't. That just. I mean, everybody, including me, because I love my real-time strategies. You guys know this. Made no secret about it. I was really looking forward to a new Command and Conquer, and you know what they did? They went and made it into a bloody mobile game and said, "Oh yeah, you can play it on the mobiles." Like, and I want to play it on a mobile. I want to play it on a PC with a mouse and keyboard as nature intended.
Exactly, and it's
it's
stuff
unnatural.
like that. I mean, EA have got so many properties they've done that to. Dungeon Keeper was the other one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the thing is,
don't forget a certain Star Wars related game.
Oh God!
It made you play for the beginning. Then everybody boycotted it, and then they changed it. But you have to play for something like 20 to 30 hours to unlock Darth Vader or pay.
Hang on, are we on about Battlefront 2?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. I was thinking, hang on, Star Wars related game. He didn't say it was a Star Wars game. He said it was Star Wars related. What Star Wars related games does EA have? None, because they're all Star Wars games.
But that's next year's FIFA.
It's... No, I mean, to be honest, I don't mind microtransactions if I haven't paid for it. If it's like a gacha game where it's like Fate Grand Order or the One Piece one or many, many other, which tend to normally be Japanese games.
Yeah.
You haven't paid anything. You do get the opportunity to roll these gachas for free, but if you want more, you pay for them.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, that's basically, it's something that I do understand, but I think there should be a limit on it, because with those gachas, the problem is that also plays into the whole pay to win thing.
Yeah.
You know, so I think if it basically said, okay, you've rolled it once for free, you can roll it another 3 times if you pay, and that's it. You know, that's you're done for the day.
Yeah.
Right? And that then knocks the whole pay to win thing on the head as well. So I think there has to be a limitation to it. And if you place that limitation, then obviously the developers, the publishers, they're not going to make as much money from the whole mechanic, but you're also not going to fall foul of gambling regulations, as the loot boxes did.
I mean, I don't mind if it's cosmetic, because I've done it myself. Borderlands 2 being quite a weakness for me, spending the odd £2 on costumes.
Yeah, because the thing is, you look at it, you go, it's £2, you know. I'm working, I can afford it. It's £2, you know.
Exactly, and it's not like you're breaking the bank.
Yeah, but that's also how. So I mean, there were a lot of people. There were some reports, you know, when with the loot boxes and stuff like that. There were some reports that people were basically emptying their credit cards.
Yeah, especially with kids and stuff like that, where kids have went on, emptied the credit card, and then they've had to put some kind of claim in or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they've basically taken the parents' credit card, emptied it just so they can play this game and win this game, and it's caused all sorts of problems for their families. Their families are like tens of thousands of dollars in debt. I mean, you go, well,
that's like a certain recent game, but let's call it 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially now it's on a mobile device, which as everything else does.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole thing about loot boxes, the whole thing about paying for anything, microtransactions in general in video games, has always been a hot button topic. I don't know if I would boycott a game just because of microtransactions, unless they were so horribly done so that you play the game for 5 minutes and after 5 minutes it starts asking you for money. You've paid £50 for this game, and then the game starts asking you for more money. At that point, I would want to find the developers or the publishers or whoever agreed to greenlight this and punch them in the face.
Well, I came very close to boycotting it for this year. A game series which I buy every year.
What? WWE?
And that was FIFA.
FIFA?
Because this is a case of EA catering to the Ultimate Team.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought it for the Champions League licenses, but I had the money to buy it this year. So it wasn't too much of a waste. But the cream mode's exactly the same. Everything's exactly the same apart from Ultimate Team, apart from the licenses. And really annoyed me. Really did. And Rob knows how much I like my football games.
Yep.
What about games where they just go completely left field? Like we said, the mobile ones for Command and Conquer, where we've been waiting for stuff for so long, and then they just put out a weird title. Some of the ones I can think of is by Nintendo is that stupid Animal Crossing game for the Wii U.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The thing about those weird games is that they will always get some kind of audience, right? Command and Conquer on mobile devices, it's got the name Command and Conquer, but the problem is it's up against games that are designed specifically for those systems, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And games that actually use those systems, use the resources better. All that Command and Conquer on a mobile device has going for it. The only thing that separates it from literally hundreds of other games that have come before it is the fact that it's called Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's the problem. When you're developing stuff for mobile devices, you have limited space to work with, and so you can only use a certain amount of assets when you're developing the game. You can only do things a certain way because of the play surface, stuff like that. You have greater flexibility when you're developing for consoles or for PC because you have more elbow room, you know?
Exactly.
But I mean, with the Animal Crossing on the Switch, yeah.
It was like other ones, that Metroid one. What I can't remember what it was called, Fusion Force or...
Oh, that Metroid one where you basically played a bunch of mini Metroids that could stack up on top of each other.
Yeah, it was like a football mini game and stuff like that, and everyone's like, "We haven't seen a Metroid in years. What we're giving?" It's just like, you're having this spin-off, and everyone's just like, "No, I don't want that."
See, I remember when they first announced that, right? And all the Nintendo fans were going, "We haven't had a Metroid for years," you know. And people actually said that to me as well. My retort at that point was, "I haven't had a Shenmue game in like 15 years. Go away." I can't say that now.
No doubt. Also, Kingdom Hearts did the similar thing. Even though I haven't really played many of those games.
I'm just waiting for Square Enix to go down the same route with microtransactions for Kingdom Hearts. Oh, look, you can pay to have more hearts.
You can pay to have Sora with a keyblade that's from Airbud.
The Airbud keyblade.
To be honest, Kingdom Hearts is a minefield anyway. I mean, that's something else where it's like, at one point you had to buy like every single console just to understand the story.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you something, right? Kingdom Hearts is a bit of an odd one. I won't boycott Kingdom Hearts as a game. What I will do is boycott having any conversations with any other people about the fact that I'm playing Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that's kind of like a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. If I'm playing Kingdom Hearts, I won't tell anyone I'm playing Kingdom Hearts. I'll just say, yeah, it's alright. Or, yeah, I agree. I'll just nod and smile and leave it at that and leave them to their own devices because, yeah, I'm not getting involved in that minefield there.
What about when a company is so horrible to their employees and so bad with their franchises that they move away from being a household name to just being that weird tramp on the street?
Are you on about Konami?
Yeah.
Yeah, Konami weren't very nice to their employees, although I know that a lot of people are going to start yelling Kojima here. Well, hey, you can talk about Kojima all you want. From the reports I heard, it was a very different story to what people thought.
Yeah, there's a mix with that. It's like when somebody is basically asking for more and more money.
Yeah, for a game that isn't guaranteed to make a lot of money.
Yeah, the way they went about it probably was a bit wrong, but can you blame them for just no more money?
Yeah.
Can't really.
Well, let's put it this way. Kojima, I kind of put in the same category these days as David Cage, right? David Cage always wanted to be a film director, couldn't be a film director, became a video game developer instead, and then he did Fahrenheit and what were the others? I've forgotten.
Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain.
Oh, he did that Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls.
See,
what's the new one called?
Detroit
Becomes Human.
That actually is a really good game.
See,
I've heard it's quite good from the people who've played it.
Detroit is an interesting game.
Let's rephrase that. That's a really good interactive movie.
Yeah, it's a really good interactive movie. And that's my point. David Cage doesn't make video games. He never has. And Kojima is kind of the same. Kojima does certain aspects of games very well. I thought Metal Gear Solid was a cracking game. But I am not holding out any hope for Death Stranding.
Although, it's not a game that you'd boycott. It's a game It's a game that it doesn't matter what you think about Kojima. You want to know what the game's going to be about. It's,
Yeah, he's got my attention. He's got me by the curiosity. I'll give him that. Okay, he's very good at getting people by the curiosity. So we are not calling this episode "Kojima's Got You by the Curiosity." Okay.
I'm just trying to think of any other titles where I've just looked at it and just went, nope, there's no way you're going to get me ever to buy that.
I know a couple like that. Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball.
Oh, God.
I took one look at it. I took one look at the trailer and went, nope, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah, well, that just goes for very, very, very specific parts of the fandom, isn't it?
Yes, it
although,
does.
I'm going to say, people probably bought that, but I don't think it has anything on, which actually made me boycott a series, Street Fighter 5.
That one needs some explaining, because...
Well, I love my Street Fighter games.
Yeah.
But when they release a game with basically with no arcade mode, and basically just a versus mode for £50.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, why would I go and buy the next installment if you're going to give me that on release date?
Yeah, I kind of find this is an ongoing trend with some fighting games. It's that we're getting a very, very, very bare bones. I mean, I played that My Hero Academia game and the new Jump Force game. They were basically the exact same game, but all they had, I mean, Jump Force is still on its way, but My Hero Academia is out, and all it had was a very minuscule story mode and a versus mode and an online mode. And I was like, that's 50 quid. There wasn't a huge amount of fighters. There was probably about 10, 15. And I feels like this is an ongoing trend with fighting games. Soul Calibur did the same. They locked one of the characters who had been in every installment away as DLC. And it's like, really?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to charge people for beloved characters just because...
It's
this
like if
is
they
a trend?
released it as a 20 quid game and said, oh, this is what the game's going to be, but there's going to be more stuff down the road.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing that always got me about that whole thing was just, it's like politicians, they make all sorts of empty promises and they never actually uphold those promises, do they?
Exactly.
Is this the Brexit of video games?
No, but give it time. There will be a Brexit, the video game, because just to put some titles out there, right, of video games that basically got boycotted for the right reasons. A couple of these titles that I found, right, were just kind of, I don't understand why. Why would you? Postal is one of them. Right?
Is that the one that was really, for example, gory and things like that?
Yeah.
Is that the one where you play as a post worker and you've got to shoot people or something?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That was one of the games that got boycotted simply because people didn't like the kind of hyper-violent attitude of it. Another one was Conker's Bad Fur Day.
See, that's now considered a cult classic, isn't it?
Yeah, but remember when it came out on the N64? Because I remember this, because I bought the game and I got told off when I bought the game by a woman who had bought the game for her child, heard all the swearing in the game.
Well, it was. The thing is, that was supposed to be a child's game. Like, the design in that originally was a child's game.
That's why she bought the game for her child, not noticing the fact that it was it wasn't rated PG or anything like that. And so she bought the game, and then her child put the game on. She can hear all sorts of swearing and stuff like that. And she's like, "What is this?" Sees that the child is playing a video game, and then when I bought the game, took it to the counter. She goes, "Oh, you should be ashamed of yourself buying that game." I'm like, I'm a full-grown man. Why should I be ashamed of myself? She goes, "I bought that game for my child." I went, "Well, that's your fault then, isn't it?"
There's always a few where they have like really, really big boycotts and stuff like that. I remember people trying to boycott Grand Theft Auto, and the other one was, I think it was around the same time, was Carmageddon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've never got boycotting a game like Grand Theft Auto, right? Because you've got a choice in that game. I mean, You can't really say that you haven't played that game and tried to drive properly and be
Yeah.
a law-abiding citizen and stop at all the lights.
Yeah, but I mean, I never understood the whole thing with Carmageddon boycotting that game because Death Race came out in the 70s, right? So having a video game like Carmageddon, we'd already all seen Death Race, so who cares? But just a couple of other titles. Playing History 2 from Serious Games back in 2015. Playing History 2 Slave Trade.
Oh no!
Ooh.
It was supposed to be an one of those educational games to teach the user about slave trading, but one game mode was called Slave Tetris,
Oh no.
and the goal was to try and fit as many African slaves onto a boat using
No.
gameplay similar to Tetris.
How did that pass a meeting?
I don't know.
How did they know that was? How did they think that was not going to have an argument somewhere?
There's just even just saying it makes me feel unclean.
That's ridiculous. I'm assuming that the school shooting one's on that list, is it?
The school shooting ones are on this list as well. Fight of Gods is on this list for obvious reasons. Agony, you know that one that Andrew reviewed, Agony. That's also on this list for obvious reasons.
Oh dear.
But a couple of the weirder ones that are on this list are apparently these are controversial games. You've got games like Pakistan Army Retribution. Who the hell makes a game like that? Or 6 Days in Fallujah.
Why?
Why would you make a game like that?
Can anyone remember that legendary one on the Atari? Was it General Custer's Revenge? Or
Oh,
something
Custer's
like that?
Revenge, yes. That was,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
And, some of these games are just awful. But they actually had, with stuff like Custer's Revenge, with the slave trade one, stuff like that, they had aspects of the game that were just simply too horrible.
Yeah.
Which kind of justified the fact that people want to boycott them. Now, we've actually had a recent game release that people are boycotting because it has the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ah, I know where this is going.
Right, I'm all for... See, the thing is, I have a slightly different take on this whole thing because a lot of people in the West don't actually... They've never actually killed an animal, right? They've never actually killed an animal for food.
Mm.
Whereas I have, whether it's a fish or a chicken or something like that, I actually have. So when I'm playing the game, I'm looking at this and it's not really fazing me that much. But, I disagree strongly. In fact, I it's kind of absolute hatred. I think that they should be forced to fight these animals barehanded because the animal doesn't have a weapon. All those sport hunters.
Yeah, them ones. I really don't like them ones.
Yeah. If you're hunting an animal for food, right, it's serving a purpose. You're not, and you don't really take more than just like one animal.
Mm-hmm.
You're not destroying the environment. You're basically working as tribal cultures worked for thousands of years. That's how civilization developed. We went from hunter-gatherers to becoming a civilization, yeah?
Mm.
Yeah.
So hunting for food is something that we have done for thousands of years as a species, and that's fine by me, right? But when you're going out sport hunting, so you have games like Cabela's, I will never play a Cabela's big game adventure game.
Mm.
I refuse to. I absolutely refuse to because I disagree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Red Dead Redemption, the whole, when you skin the animals, stuff like that, people felt squeamish.
I think, though, Red Dead Redemption, though, you are doing it for food.
You're doing it for food, but I think it was the graphic detail that people disagreed with.
Yeah, I think it was the graphic detail, because really, if otherwise, how is it any different from something like Monster Hunter?
Yeah. Which, when you think about it, Monster Hunter, you're basically taking these glorious creatures that don't exist in reality, but you're basically killing these glorious creatures, some of which are just unique.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that's also one of the reasons why I won't. I'm totally against slavery and animal cruelty, so I will never play Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, that's another one. That was a big one boycotted because, well, for many, many reasons, but that was one of the reasons. But then there was obviously people saying that it was demons and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to go into the religious aspect of it. If we wanted to do that, we'd all just play Fight of the Gods.
But the other way is too much censorship.
Yeah. You were telling us about this earlier, Mark, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I like Senran Kagura. It's a stupid game. But
we know you like Senran Kagura. And we know it's a stupid game.
It's like, and I can understand why people would want it censored.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got an age rating on there for a reason, okay? And if it's got an age rating on there, then, you know, let me put it this way. I really dislike people telling me what I should and shouldn't like. It makes me angry. It makes me want to find the person who's trying to tell me what I should and shouldn't like and, you know, punch them in the balls. And if
exactly,
you know, if they don't have balls, then punch something else.
But the way Sony's kind of going at it, it feels very aggressive towards Japanese culture.
Well, I mean, maybe we should tell people what Sony have done first.
So basically, there's a certain mode in Senran Kagura which actually got its own separate release on the Nintendo Switch of all things, which Sony have now turned around and said, that's not going in the game. So basically, this is a game where you basically massage girls.
Yeah.
And now they've turned around and said, we can't have this, even though there's past games in the series where it was fine. It's somehow fine on a Nintendo console, because Nintendo have always been really bad. But then there's other titles where they're censoring that much. They're going from an M rating to an E for everyone.
Question. And if anybody from Sony is listening, this is a serious question, you know. Are you stupid? Right?
But the thing is, though, it's kind of been on the back of Sony moving from Japan to the US.
That's what I mean.
It feels very much a Western influence trying to control the East.
Yeah, that's why I said, are you stupid, Sony?
It's like, I've never got the censorship things because you know what game you're buying. It's like, just don't buy it. You know, especially probably a game which will be quite clearly from the box the type of game which you're buying.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
This is something else that they're doing to make it almost impossible for anyone to even talk back to them. I'll see if I can find the bit on it. Sony seems to be moving towards disallowing ports of ages 18 and up titles worldwide. And this game is 18 and up, so it's been subjected to a very strict inspection. And what was happening was we're getting all these questions. To make matters worse, the platform holder is asking all of these questions in English, forcing the studio to go through a translator to get its answers across. Internally, the game is complete, but there are things we can't do without connecting to Sony servers, like trophies. And then they said that they can't release the game on the PlayStation. They'll have to find somewhere else to put it. But right now, they're stuck because they've signed an exclusive agreement with Sony. But the thing that got me was how Sony is talking to these Japanese publishers in English.
Yeah.
And wanting them to respond. So basically, they're saying, this is how it goes. And they're like, we don't care about your side of things.
So, has the backlash started yet in the gaming community? Because the gaming community historically has been quite vehement about things like this. And yet,
the Senran Kagura kind of went from the point being, I'm going to buy it, to I refuse to buy it until it's on either the Nintendo Switch, the PC, which I believe it's coming to both of them.
Yeah, my point isn't that. My point is the backlash against Sony.
Well, that's the thing.
See, this is the thing. If Sony is basically trying to force studios, especially Japanese studios, to toe their party line, then that's not going to be good for Sony. Again, we come back to my point, my question to Sony. Are you stupid? Do you have a moron making these decisions, Sony? This is possibly one of the worst decisions, or one of the worst acts I have seen a major corporation do in public. And the reason for that is because there are loads of different ways this could go, right, from a business perspective. There are loads of different ways this could go. But what Sony, if they've moved their headquarters to America, fine, all well and good. Not got a problem with that. But if you're arbitrarily attacking, because effectively it is, if you're arbitrarily attacking Japanese developers by forcing them to jump through these hoops, you're going to alienate the country that made you into a good corporation, Sony. You're going to alienate your home country. And don't forget, Japan still holds a huge amount of sway.
Yeah. I mean, what I've gathered as well is that this PlayStation actually is dropping in sales quite rapidly in Japan.
Yeah.
Because Japan's moved on to a handheld or mobile platform more than actual physical games. Stuff like Uncharted, God of War, Spider-Man, they do okay in Japan, but they don't do the numbers that they do over here.
Do you know why?
It's stuff like Final Fantasy, it's stuff like Dragon Quest, which sell the stuff over in Japan.
Yeah, do you know why? Because Japan has believe it or not, and I found this difficult to believe when I first heard it, but it's been the case for a long, long time. Japan, just in one country, has a much bigger video games market than we do in the West.
Oh, yeah.
And by the West, I mean the Western nations in general. We're catching up now because of indie games and stuff like that, but you're talking about indie games as a collective, the whole independent game movement, and we're basically around the same level as stuff that just comes out at random in Japan.
Yeah.
Because in Japan, you've got people making games in their, in their bedroom and putting them out on handheld devices or mobile apps and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think Sony need to really quickly change the tune, because at the end of the day, these developers will go to another platform. They'll put them stuff on,
or they'll take Sony to court for breach of contract, because effectively, what Sony's done has threatened their business, threatened their future as a company. So they would have a legal right, with the exclusivity contract, they would have a legal right to challenge it in court now. If they're saying, Sony, are basically, this is the game we've made, it's ready for it's ready to be shipped. Sony are basically trying to force us to do this to the game. We want to challenge it in court. We want to remove the exclusivity contract. Since Sony wants us to do this, we can't do business with them anymore.
I mean, the game in question, that's kind of sparked this, apart from because Senran Kagura is the big name one.
Yeah.
Is Silverio Trinity? Never heard of it, but I'm assuming it's going to be one of these GRPG. It looks like it looks quite a bit like Trails of Cold Steel, actually.
Probably.
And yeah, Sony probably don't care. They probably don't think it's going to give them big numbers, but it'll be popular in Japan.
Yeah,
it'll be popular in certain markets.
Doesn't always happen in Japan. There was quite a big game a few years ago that was censored in all different means all over the world, and that was South Park.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was censored here, the UK.
Yeah.
Even though people found out how to remove the censors on PC, and then they changed it. But it was they had references to everything. To tons of different things that's basically illegal to show in different countries.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I mean, this whole aspect of censorship. I think censorship for the right reason. Okay. But it's got to be the right reason.
Yeah.
I think there are things that should be censored. I'm not totally against censorship. I think there are things that should be censored just for your own sanity, if nothing else.
Oh yeah.
But I think in general, countries especially and corporations in particular, they have far too heavy a hand. I mean, have you guys ever played like Papers, Please?
Yeah.
Right. Censorship is generally handled in that kind of manner. From what I've seen anyway. And it really, we live in like the information age. We have done for a while now. And what really bugs me is that even in the information age, you still have people who refuse to Google things.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like this. But why don't you check what the age rating is for it first before you say, I don't like this? Because, my child's mind might be poisoned by it. Check the age rating first.
I don't even think now, this day and age, I don't even think it's children that are involved with it. I think it's just someone looked at the game and just went, I don't like that. And these people are now in positions where they can make a change. And I think the people who were censoring it wouldn't even buy it anyway. They wouldn't even pick it up off the shelf. They just walked in, went, oh, I don't like the look of that. Oh, that's offensive to me. Right, we'll ban it.
Yeah. But then again, those sorts of people are probably offended by lots of things.
Very possibly.
I'm not gonna go into the list of things that they'd be offended by because I might get into trouble.
We'll leave it there because I think that's a good way to end it, and I don't really want to upset a few more people.
Sorry. It's not might get into trouble. I definitely would get into trouble.
Yeah.
Well, just to end things then, very, very quickly, there have been some odd reasons for games being boycotted, but I want to just mention a couple here. One of the stupidest reasons for a game being boycotted, I always found, was Mass Effect 3 for the ending.
Yeah, and how can you boycott a game after you've finished it?
Yeah, that's my point.
I will not buy all of this DLC.
That was my point. Number one, you can't boycott a game after you've finished playing the game. I'm going to boycott this game. I played it, and then I got to the ending, and it only gave me 3 choices. And number two, sometimes that happens in life. In fact, it happens quite a lot in life, where you have a limited number of choices, and they're all bad choices, right?
Yeah.
That's just how life works. And if BioWare were purposefully doing that to try and reflect how life would work, you've fought all this way, you've made all sorts of choices, you've done all the hard work, but still, at the end, you're still left with 3 difficult choices, and none of them were good ones, right? That's just how life is.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. But sometimes games get boycotted for. I mean, Senran Kagura is a prime example of a game where that wears its heart on its sleeve. It says exactly what it is, right? And so I don't understand why people boycott a game like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand if someone just picked it up and just went, "This isn't for me. I'm not going to buy it." But it's like, yeah, it's just the way that's being handled. This is just stupid.
There were some people who boycotted The Witcher 3, right?
Why?
They boycotted The Witcher 3 because there is the scene of Geralt and I forgot her name on the
bath.
On the unicorn.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they boycotted. I think these people must have been working with PETA or something like that, because PETA are the only group that I can see boycotting a game for a stupid reason, like, it's they're basically using a stuffed unicorn. Obviously, that unicorn was killed for no reason at all.
Yeah, that's like they did the same thing with Assassin's Creed 4, though.
Yes,
PETA, about killing whales. And then I think Ubisoft replied saying, we don't condone piracy either. And I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget, Peter's best one, though, was writing to Games Workshop and asking them to basically change their models so that this particular race wouldn't be wearing the fur of space wolves.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, people boycott games for the stupidest reasons.
Yeah, pretty much.
But also for some good reasons as well.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think if you could sit down and genuinely justify why you would never buy another one of those games, that's fine. I would never buy another Dark Souls game. I've got nothing against it. I just played it for a weekend and found I wasn't getting any further and it was a waste of my time, so I refused to buy any more.
See, I played a Dark Souls game. I played 2 Dark Souls games. I also played Demon Souls. And all those people who were saying, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, they're amazing. They're the best games ever. Oh, they're so difficult. Never played Demon Souls, did they?
No. Well, apparently everything's Dark Souls now. Spyro the Dragon's now Dark Souls.
Yeah, I love the fact that you have people looking at the Onimusha remake and say, oh, it looks a bit like Dark Souls. No, Dark Souls looks a lot like Onimusha. Get your video game timeline. We should start teaching this in school. so that I won't be angry whenever I hear a conversation, whenever I'm in a game shop, you know?
That game looks like Undertale. No, it doesn't. It looks like Earthbound.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
You know, because you remember Neo?
Yeah.
That one. Everyone's saying, oh, it looks a lot like Dark Souls. I'm like, my first thought when I saw it was, Onimusha!
The only reason I didn't buy Neo was because I kept getting confused with Nier.
Hey.
It had an unfortunate timing of being near that title.
I saw what you did there. I'm not going to respond to it. On that note, I think we're at the end of the show.
The world of comics and manga are much, much more complex than I'll ever know. So tune in to 4Panel on the Geek Show Podcast Network to make that whole world a little less intimidating.
There really is nothing like a first leather-bound edition of a classic Victorian podcast. Hello, we're Literally Loitering from the Geek Show, and we cover literally all types of books, from hardbacks to paperbacks to sometimes the words within them. If any of these things interest you, why not pop in and give us a visit on Literally Loitering.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what would make you boycott a game, or, you know, if you agree with the idea of censorship for the right reason. You know, what do you think of Sony's move against Senran Kagura? Do you think it's going to lead to other games being forced to make changes in the same way? You know, let us know in the comments below. If you want to catch up with any of our other shows, you can find them on our website, along with all the other stuff that we do, thegeekshow.co.uk, that is. You'll also find our Patreon and our shop on there, so if you want to show your support, you can do so using those. Until the next Press X, I've been Rob.
Me and Andy.
I've been Mark.
And we'll see you all later.
Bye!